Hi everyone, and welcome to How Good's Footy in Asia, AFL Asia's official podcast. We're up to episode 15, and today's special guest is the Macau Lightning president, Dave Smith. Welcome to the podcast, Dave.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. An absolute pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Before we get to you and start the official podcast, we'll move over to Billy Bang Bang Krang over in Saigon, Vietnam. How's things over your way, Bill?
Not too bad, Matty. I've just been having lunch and watching the old US election, and geez, I've got no idea what's going on over there. I can't see which way it's going. I've been messaging every American I know. They don't know. Incredible.
Yeah, well, I'm the same. I've got no wings, no left wing, no right wing, and don't.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really affect me too much. Dave, how's the weather over in Macau, big fella?
Well, this is the best time of year for us. You know, the humidity drops a bit. We're maybe 26, 28 degrees. It's about the only month of the year that I don't sweat every day. And so, no, perfect weather for Scotland at the moment. Like the hottest Scottish summer day every day. No, it's good. Very, very good.
Sensational. We're just getting to the early introduction to winter. I guess we're down to a pretty normal or probably a mild Scottish day, which is about 18 degrees.
That's a good Scottish.
It gets down to around the 7.5-3 mark come winter. So we're looking forward to embracing that shortly. How's the weather over in Saigon, Bill? Still nice and warm?
It'd be Scotland, yeah. I can't really relate it to Scotland. It'd be 33 and 90% humidity outside, as it is every day.
Same, yet different.
Might rain later.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. All right, Bill, you're front and square. Let's get the ball underway, and we'll start the official podcast, podcast 15.
Yeah.
Big Dave Smith over in Macau.
Yeah, so 15 episodes. Pretty amazing. And, Dave, you're unique because you are the first not Asian, not Australian-born person. So I ask this question every week, and it's, where did you grow up in? It's a pretty typical Australian life. You play footy, and you're, or we've spoken to a few Asian-born guests. But yeah, I'm fascinated. Tell us about your upbringing in Scotland.
Well, yes, I'm from the East Coast, so a town called Lithgow, which is about 20 minutes outside Edinburgh. Very, very normal upbringing. Mum and dad got good jobs. Middle class. School was fine and everything. Sport-wise, I was more of a rugby union is what I played. Yep. Not at any great level or anything, but being quite a big guy, second row was my position. Played for the local club, played 1-2 games for the county, but as soon as I sort of got to the age of 16, money to buy cars and such not was more prevalent than playing rugby on a Saturday. So I kind of dropped off playing sport until I moved to Macau. 8 or 9 years after that is when I got introduced to these guys at the Lightning. Is when my next sort of sport thing happened.
Well, we'll get to that and the crossover, but we touched on the weather in Scotland a little bit before. We were talking about the top ends, but I understand it gets pretty chilly there. So can you tell us, I guess, how the weather is? And then one thing I think anyone who's not been to Scotland or doesn't know the culture is, how do you do the kilt with no underwear in that sort of weather?
Well, the kilt thing, I know exactly what you're referring to. Basically, if you hire a kilt, you wear underwear. If you own a kilt, you remove the underwear.
Okay.
That's kind of the unwritten rule for kilt wearing. But it's only just weddings, and it's just weddings and maybe end of year balls and stuff that the kilt really comes out, and the occasional rugby game as well. But it certainly gets a bit of attention when you wear it in Macau. I'll tell you that. Weather-wise, Edinburgh, the hottest day we're talking 30 at a push, and that would be one year. Winter time, we're maybe down at say -6, -7 in the coldest. You're pretty much guaranteed snow at some point in the year. But Scotland. If you've not been, Edinburgh especially is just an amazing city. Really worth a trip, and plenty with plenty golf, plenty beer. It's we've got it all really.
Yep.
Dave, we'll stick to the Scottish heritage if we can. My godparents, and effectively with my next door neighbours growing up, they're from Glasgow, and they came to Whyalla, which is in South Australia. Whyalla was a BHP industrial town, steel making city, and British Steel obviously had a connection with them, hence why they moved to South Australia. They were from Glasgow, so I think their accent's a little bit stronger than yours. But I really clearly remember my godmother every time I went over to their house. Oh, howdy doody! So it was very strong accent, and I know that you've got a bit of a soccer following as well. You don't mind soccer, which is part of pretty much a religion in Scotland. Who did you grow up barracking for before I go into some of the teams that I'm aware of in Scotland?
Well, being closest to Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian Hearts was my sort of Scottish team. But my dad, my mum's Scottish, and I grew up in Scotland, but my father's from Liverpool. So I'm actually an avid Everton fan. That's you basically can't be a Smith in my family and not support Everton. So Everton's my kind of passion in life. Plus, it's it's very well known that Scottish football is in Cantonese laps up. It is just rubbish. The standard, it's just not entertaining to watch. Just watching two teams hoof the ball up and down, and again with the wind and the rain that we have, and so on. But Everton would be my passionate sort of EPL team on that side. But you're right, the Glasgow, the Rangers Celtic derby. I mean, I've been to Celtic Park before, not for a derby game, but I mean the atmosphere and everything is fantastic. I mean, the football is shocking, but the actual fan base and the passion that all teams have, and it's kind of calmed down a lot now. But for a while, the Rangers Celtic thing was actually a violent thing. It was very sort of what do you call it, religion based, and it got very, very passionate. But football is just the main sport really in Scotland. A bit of rugby here and there, but AFL was non-existent. I can tell you that.
No.
Yeah, just for those viewers out there that don't really know the religion behind the Scottish football. So Celtics is the Catholic team and Rangers are the Protestants. And I learned very quickly about that religious sort of involvement with the behind the scenes. So just on my Scottish godparents' family, the youngest son, he went for Rangers. I think he was just a tokenistic follower because it was either you went for Rangers or Celtic. But the eldest lad, who's the same age as me, he actually went for Motherwell.
Okay.
And the cousin went for Kilmarnock. And given that was a British Steel city, we even had a guy who went for Partick Thistle, of all teams.
Oh yeah.
So some real rarity in Scottish soccer teams. So for those that don't know Motherwell, it's two different colours of diarrhea, basically, isn't it?
Orange and sort of kind of exactly.
Orange and brown.
Yeah, orange and brown.
Now I've tried haggis once. I bought it once at the Adelaide show and absolutely loved it. Was it a bit of a staple for you and your family growing up, or how does it all fit in heritage, the Scottish culture?
Unlike the kilt, which comes out on special occasions, haggis is actually we eat it quite a lot. It's good. Every supermarket would have a haggis in the meat aisle. Every fish and chip shop would do a supper, which is basically a long sausage-shaped haggis that's deep fried. Obviously, Robbie Burns night and all these things, it always comes out. But a sort of staple in a lot of pub menus is Balmoral chicken, which is chicken stuffed with haggis. You'd find that in most sort of pubs on the menu somewhere. So no, if you've never tried haggis, I know the description makes it sound putrid, but it actually tastes really, really good. My tip is a bit of HP brown sauce. That's the key little ingredient that you have with your haggis.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the haggis with the potato mash. It was very, very good.
Yeah, the meats and tatties.
All right, we'll get Bill to move over towards the Macau side of things now, and let's go into that chapter of your life.
Yeah, so Dave, I think you mentioned just off air before we jumped on. 14 years ago, you lobbed over to Macau. Tell us how it came about. What were your first thoughts? What were you expecting? What differed? And we'll get on to the footy side of things after that.
Okay. So 2007. So 14 years ago, I moved here. My grandparents actually lived in Macau since 1993 for a long time. we have quite an unusual family business. So we do basically essential oils, fragrance, everything that makes hotels so nice. So when people meet this big fat Scottish guy who loves drinking a beer, and you say, "What do you do for a job?" "Oh, I create smells." They're like, "Well, what end of you do they come out?" And I went, "No, actually, they're good smells." But so pretty much, your hotel lobbies, your casinos, all that kind of things, and we even do things like spa products, like massage oils and all these things, which again is just bizarre. When it's great places to visit, 5-star hotels and spas for meetings. But when I walked, I'm just like, "Are you in the right place?" I went, "Yeah. I'm the sales guy."
And so, can I jump in? Where's your main market for that? In Macau, the hotels in Macau, or back to Scotland or global?
Not so much Scotland, mainly within Asia. We have clients in Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, and so on. But with the boom, Macau is the Las Vegas of Asia. The casinos here are bigger and they do a lot more revenue than the Vegas casino. So they're our biggest market because just the mass scale and clients who are in a casino. It's just you have a fragrance. It's it's basically part of the experience you have when you go. So Macau has been very, very good to us over recent years, but we ship things worldwide every week.
Dave, I went to Hong Kong for my honeymoon just happened to be with my wife's parents. The mother-in-law had a bit of a secret Hong Kong bank account, which we won't go into details about. They invited us to go over because they were going to roll money out of the Hong Kong bank account and bring it back to Japan. And I had choices. I had two choices. I only had one choice. So one day the family went to the Hong Kong Disneyland, and the second day I was either go to the Hong Kong racetrack at Happy Valley or go to Macau. If I could have traded in Disneyland, I would have done Macau and the horse racing, but you got to do what you got to do. For those that don't really understand geographically, how close are you to Hong Kong, and how close are you to the mainland of China in Macau?
Right. So Hong Kong wise, we're exactly 1 hour on a jet foil. So you have to exit immigration in Macau on a jet foil, and then 1 hour exactly, then you're in the middle of Hong Kong, like right on Central Island. We've also built the world's largest bridge, which actually goes from Macau all the way to, which takes you about 75 minutes on a bus, a bit less if you hire a car. So you can drive direct to Hong Kong now. And we're actually connected to the mainland. So when you exit Macau at the China border, you just walk across and you're right in the middle of Zhuhai, which is our nearest city. So so 1 hour to Hong Kong, and you can walk into China. And then from Zhuhai, say we're going up to Guangzhou, which is probably the biggest city that's past that. You're maybe 1 hour on the speed train, or about maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours on a bus, getting up to the middle of Guangzhou.
There you go. Let's get into the footy details now. How did you get involved with the Macau Footy Club, and how did you end up discovering the club?
Well, again, because I wasn't really playing sports before I moved here, I didn't really actively look for a sports club or the rugby club or anything like this. So I didn't really know that many people when I moved either. So I came in here and I sat at the bar watching my beloved Everton by myself. And around about half time, just all these guys and Aussie guys in green and white pile into the bar. And they've just come down from, I think, the first sort of big game with Guangzhou. And just and then we were on they were on a bit of a recruitment drive, and they just see this big sort of guilo looking guy sitting there by himself. And then they had a competition who recruited people. So I got tapped on both shoulders and people shoving business cards in my face and all this. So actually, Chris Rogers and Kurt Gassane were the two that officially sort of recruited me. And that was it. So anyway, we had this great night, and they're just awesome guys and everything. And you get Monday morning, you think, oh, I wonder if I'll bump into them again. And I got 3 emails saying, we're training on Thursday, you've got to come. I recruited you. Make sure that's all done and all this. So then I'm thinking, oh, shit, AFL, I don't know anything about this. So the first thing I did, I went onto YouTube to have a look, and the first video I watched was biggest hits and biggest marks in the AFL.
Comes up first.
Oh my God, what have I done? But I've committed to some emails. I had great nights with some of my good guys. So I went along and just thoroughly just loved it. It was just a great evening, so welcoming. And my favourite part of rugby, because I've got quite a big kick, was just hoofing the ball down the field, as number 15. So the fact that this is the major part of the game, I went, this is great. And then as soon as we've done our hour training, they're like, now we go for street beers. I'm like, oh, this just keeps getting. Just it was just how friendly and just how, even though I had no idea what I was doing, they gave me my nickname Welshie on the first day just because I'm pretty clearly Scottish. I've got a saltire tattoo, but they said, oh, the guy from Wales was here and, just taking the piss. And it just kind of bonds you right into the team. And yeah, just an awesome group of guys. And I just fell in love with AFL ever since then. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that, obviously you didn't mind going long by foot, and obviously the tackling comes across from rugby. What did you find the hardest to pick up? What were the parts that you were like, oh, what is going on here?
I think it's just knowing where you are. Cause coming from a rugby background, you're all in the line. You can see going towards you. They started me in the ruck because I was a bit slimmer back then, and I'm about 6'2", so I'm reasonably tall. And it was pretty easy to know what to do. But as soon as you tapped it down, or hopefully tapped it down, then I was a bit lost. Like you just run after the ball, because in rugby that's what they tell you pretty much not to do. And so on, and then just get it forward as fast as you can. And obviously rugby, you've got that. You're thinking to pass it back the way. But the theology rules, there's not really that many rules. It's pretty straight. Once you got the grasp of it, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Dave, how long had you been playing for the Macau Lightning before you got thrusted into the role as president, which you've actually held since 2013?
Yeah, quite a long time. So one of our sort of founder members was a guy called Troy Harris. And Troy was here. His wife worked in marketing here, and he was doing a sports degree sort of online. And he's the kind of one that really, he's from Brisbane, Vegas, and he actually did quite well with the Lions sort of like set up when he was there. He's a really good player, and he did as one of his projects. He kind of got the Auskick up and running, and then the sort of seniors got up and running, and so he did that for maybe I think two or 3 years, and then his wife then had to move to Singapore. So it was basically I joined the committee within that time, just doing some helping with banking and all these things. And then there was just a vote in the pub one night who's going to be the next president. And I honestly had no idea. They'd already discussed it was going to be me. And it was a unanimous vote in the chaos. I'm like, oh, God, what do I do now? I've got to learn how to book buses and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was very, very honored again when they picked me. And I guess in Macau, most people are in the gaming industry, really. Either they build casinos, they supply casinos, or they run casinos. And in my job as fragrance, I'm kind of independent. So I'm not a competitor. I'm not really a customer of the guys that are in the team. So I was like a neutral person. Plus, because it's my own company, I had a bit more time to, do the booking buses thing and sending the emails and so on. But I tried to give it up in 2017, and then there was another unanimous decision, and they wouldn't let me. So I'm still here. Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So in those early years, Macau were correct me if I'm wrong here. Macau were a foundation member of the South China AFL, the SCAFL. Yeah. How many years did you play in the SCAFL, and how was that?
We're in it from inception, and then just because of player numbers and traveling, we had to pull out in 2017. I think 2017.
So what year was Inception? Sorry.
Oh, now you're talking. We must have been in it for 3 or 4 years.
Give or take. Yeah.
So we were playing independent games, obviously with the Hong Kong guys, and then with the Guangzhou guys. We preferred playing against Guangzhou because they were more at our level. We just got spanked by Hong Kong all the time. So when the SCAFL came around, it was more like the Chinese, the Guangzhou team from the university. There was us. We were a bit older and a bit slower, and then Hong Kong split up their huge squad. So they had the Lizards, I forgot all three of the teams there, but it just made it more of a interesting competition for us, because when we're playing against the full Hong Kong squad, I mean, we just got battered. There's not actually all that many of us who were AFL. A lot were rugby background, a bit like me. So just having that SCAFL thing where everything was mixed up a bit, and it was a good opportunity every month to go to Guangzhou, go to Hong Kong. We had a ground at the time, so we hosted some good events here, and it was great times. We really didn't want to pull out. It was just there was a mass exodus around about that time of a lot of the teachers that we had. They swap over every couple of years, so we lost all our teachers. a lot of gaming guys either started moving back or they couldn't travel so much. And so we didn't want to, but we were kind of forced into pulling out of that. So we're more just a champs and masters sort of team at the moment. But obviously, the main aim, we want to try to start up Auskick again. And we want to try and obviously people are allowed to come back into Macau. No foreigners allowed here just now. Hopefully we can start bringing it up a bit more, and the sports grounds are beginning to open up a bit more, so we can try and locate another ground to start training. And we've already got a plan to hit the local university to bring in local players. But again, it's at the moment that we just can't get a ground to train on.
So just to double back a little bit, that drop in participation from my, looking from very far away, it happened extremely quickly. You mentioned the teachers, but was it also part of a change in the economic structure of Macau? Did something happen with the Chinese gambling laws, or what actually brought about that drop?
There was a bit of an anti-corruption thing that came in, which really hit the VIP market in Macau. So I wouldn't say anyone directly lost their job from that, but a lot of people were not maybe spending as much money or looking at salary caps and so on. And then our sort of core group, we all sort of stuck together. But again, age, I'm one of the younger members at 37, if you know what I mean. So age was becoming a factor. The teachers were great because they were young and fit, and most of them were PE teachers, and it was awesome. But then our aging legs on the other side meant people were a little bit less willing to maybe take a hit or break a finger, and it was just harder and harder to get people to participate. And Macau is only 32 kilometers square. Macau is tiny. We only have a population of 500,000. And it's actually very hard to get a working visa in Macau. You have to be either a very specialist in a certain area, teacher. I was very lucky. I had a family connection and a business that was already set up here. But getting a work visa in Macau is hard. And the biggest sort of group of expats that we always try and recruit is the House of Dancing Water, which is the big $1 billion show that they have here. So they're all jumpers and divers and extremely fit, but they're not allowed to play because if they get injured, it's against their contract to do other physical activities. And so it's very hard to recruit people in Macau. And the locals are basketball, football. It is very hard to even think about it. And the rugby club here are actually really pushing, and they're sort of snapping up all the kids at the moment. The Macau rugby. And we work very closely with them. We were very kind that we were not allowed to book a field in Macau because the government didn't recognize AFL as a sport. So so we had meetings with the sports board. We tried all these things, and they just refused to accept it as a sport because it's not internationally renowned. Well, I know it's growing now, but the rugby club actually very kindly booked the grounds and stuff for us on our behalf, and we're ever grateful for that. But AFL Macau is pretty tough.
Yeah. So that leads us to one of the more interesting points of Macau over the last few years, especially. You've on the, like you said, a Masters and Champs team in terms of internationals. I would affectionately term the squad as, and I have played one game. I got a Macau singlet in my cupboard at home. I played after the Swans were done, I'd actually had a few beers, but Macau was short going into a plate final or something. I remember the first ball up, Matty, you were the umpire, and you said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I didn't actually know. The boys had actually dragged me out, put a Macau singlet on me. So I would affectionately call the squad these days misfits, and that's the nicest way I can put it. There's a few Swannies who are in amongst it, and a lot of guys travel back from Australia, and guys that have played and have really stuck. May not be living in Macau, but they're making up the numbers. How did that come about? And how is that moving? How did the squad keep in touch? How did they reassemble each time?
Like in the middle of the scaffold, and I had to book 22 buses to go up to Guangzhou, and we had like 42 players who were all living in Macau and coming, and it was just insane. And then the exodus started happening, and there was no one topping it up. So it all happened actually in the Vietnam Champs. And the worst thing in the world happened. They moved the gaming show date to the week of the Champs, So literally, we had maybe about 18 coming, and then it turned out it was only me, Josh, who's living in Manila, and Michael Keane, who's in Macau. So there's only 2 people from Macau going, and I wasn't playing because I was injured. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And we'd already paid the entrance fee, and I'd paid all flights and stuff. So I actually reached out to everyone, and it was Shamak from the Swannies. He was our saving hero, and he said, "Oh, I've got these guys who normally play for the Ballydingos, kind of coming over." Like Simo and Les and all these guys. So all kind of Macau age, and I'd say their standard is higher, but the age was similar. And we just and they just had a great time. And I'm sure we're going to touch on this later, but that was the year Libba was there, which makes it just the most. They just can't believe they've come on holiday and then they're playing with Libba. And no, we just trying to be this super, super friendly club. And so they all played for us, and then we all kept in touch. And then now it's all the people who've kind of left Macau. They're very willing to fly in for one game. Obviously, we can't do Scaffold every month, but we'll fly into Thailand for the Champs or for the Masters. So we're really quite a close-knit group, even though we're all living all over the world now. We even did a reunion trip to Budapest. We just got a map out and went, we're all over the place, so let's just pick somewhere in the middle. So we did a bit of a lightning tour to Budapest in the past. Wow. And so it's just a really lucky, just a great group of guys, and everyone's best mates. But now, like Shamak and Simo, and they've actually got lightning tattoos on them now, which is part of the deal.
That's right.
So again, we're just great mates now. So they're happy to come in, and they clash with Macau now, because they've got tattoos, and also they've played 3 or 4 champs for us. So they played like 20 games for Macau, so that qualifies them for the AFL Asia relations, I think.
For sure.
So we just have a great time. We every week, but we just love it. And we've won the race 3 years in a row. Well, not the last couple, but so we actually do win something sometimes. So it keeps everyone interested.
Well,
all good.
Grant Padgell has popped that up in the comments as we've been going. Not sure if you can see that, but he said we always win the boat race. The important things. I might add some context to that from the Swannies organising committee side of that. What was it? 16 champs, Saigon champs. Maz, who was helping organise, said, Dave, who's the president of Macau's, just sent us through an email. Macau's a little bit short. Do you reckon we can connect them to any players so that they still, they've already paid, they still want to get on the field? And so we said, it's on a chat group, how short? They said, well, it's Dave and one more. Dave's injured. I still remember that. Like, there's one bloke. And they're like, there's one guy, one able-bodied guy. I'm like, okay, leave that with us. The Vietnam Swans president doesn't mind having a run round in Div 3 in a Macau jumper either, Kero.
Of course, yeah.
So, it's a great story.
We were going to touch base on Libba. We'll come back to Libba because I want to fast track, because we've been talking about the nucleus of these players for several Asian champs now, and I guess, Dave, you've sort of been renowned as a perennial struggler when you've played in Division 2, because you've come up against these sides that are on the cusp of Division 1, and just it happens with the sake of the draw that there's not many people that are similar in that mould as a bit of a perennial struggler. So I was one of the key advocates to get the Division 3 going last year, or 2019 Asian champs, and thankfully it's really injected some competitiveness, and I guess it's streamlined those in the twilight of their career. So you've got Hong Kong B, Singapore B, Macau, Myanmar, and Laos, who are all been struggling for a number of seasons. How did you find Division 3? And secondly, come to the grand final, you just got pipped on the post for winning the inaugural Division 3. Must be a huge thrill to get that achievement, but to see that nucleus coming back year in, year out, and as an umpire, we're saying, these are the same guys from back at this Asian champs, and they're all still coming together. Must be magnificent and a really good feel around the place.
Yeah, I mean, Division 3 was the best thing that ever happened to us. I mean, when there was only the one division, again, we just got spanked. And we love coming, we love eating, we take it seriously when we're playing. But to get spanked every game, there was one champs where we only scored 1 goal on the last kick of the last game, and I think we celebrated more than winning the champs that year. That was in the Philippines. And then when we played again in the Philippines, next track, we'd actually beaten to 4 or 5 champs, and we'd never won a game. Never won a game at the Champs. That's why I've got a lightning tattoo, because we said on the plane, if we win a game, I'm getting a tattoo. So that's how that all started. And we ended up beating Hong Kong, which are like our arch rivals on that day.
Yeah.
And I think Carol or somebody was on the mic. I think, maybe Des from Philippines was on the mic, and he made this big announcement. And we walked off just high-fiving and clapping, and everyone else is clapping us, and it makes it great when you try so hard to get all these guys together, and everyone makes an effort to come from Australia, obviously, and we have a lot of guys living in Manila because of the casinos over there and so on, and it's just a fantastic feeling, and the reason I think we're getting better as well, obviously the first year in Vietnam, we'd never met Simo and Les and Dane and all these guys, but now we kind of know them, so we know how they play. It's easier for everyone to link up, and everyone's friends, and it's just it's just a really great feeling seeing where we've come when we just get spanked until we're actually 1 point off winning the Division 3 grand final against Japan. I mean, that was a victory for us almost. Just to get to that level. Yeah, but Division 3 is the best thing for a team like ours that has ever happened in AFL Asia. It just makes it fun and a lot more competitive, and we just love it. We love it. Division 4 would be even better if you can manage that.
Yeah, well, if you're still playing in about 5 years' time, I reckon we're ready for Div 4. So stay tuned. Dave, this is the question on everyone's lips as far as the highlight reel for this particular podcast, and it comes about with Libba. Now, believe it or not, I actually played in that game, so I'll just walk you back through 2016. The game before, I just vividly remember that more than the actual game itself. Singapore B, Hong Kong Indonesian Garudas, massive all-in brawl. And the game gets called off about 3 or 4 minutes before the end. And I remember that more vividly than actually playing against Libba. But I personally snagged 4 goals. I don't know if I played on you, but I remember someone clipping me around the ear, so it could have been you. But that game and that actual Asian Champs was more known for the Philippines Eagles breakthrough Asian Chance victory, but Libba was probably more of the highlight reel. It went viral. It went all through the pages of the Australian sporting media. Firstly, how did you come across getting Libba, and what was it like playing with Libba? Oh no, you couldn't play, but you were deeply associated with it. Yeah. What was it like? What was he like as a bloke, and the phenomenon that came about with Libba?
Yeah. So again, this is the year that we had 2 players, and I'm thinking what we're going to do, and so Shamak helped us get all these the guys, Simo and everyone, and then we're just looking everywhere for players, and then there was word that there was this group of young Aussies who were just on holiday, and they bumped into some guys in the hotel the night before. I think it was some of the Swannies, and said, "Oh, come along! There's a team Macau looking to have a kick." And they did know at the time that Libba and Luke Dalehouse was with them. But really, so the 3 friends who are not famous, but obviously could play, came over and said, "Oh, are you Dave from Macau? Can we play for you?" And I went, "Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can. More the merrier. And here's a strip and everything." And then he said, "We've got 2 more mates coming down, and they might have a kick as well." And we're like, okay. And like being Scott, I mean, I love AFL. I watch it all the time. I'm maybe not up as I am with my EPL. So anyway, this guy with a bit of a hockey sort of, not more curly hair. He looks like he's had a long night in Vietnam. Just rocks up. God, who's this guy? All right, he can play. And I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who it was. And then all of a sudden, like all the tent next to us are kind of gathering round, and they're like, Tom Vittori. I don't know. Is he good? He just played the grand final 2 weeks ago. No, he's never going to play. He's never going to play. And he was honestly the most down-to-earth, just fun guy I've ever met. Considering he was getting swarmed, he would take pictures. And then some other teams were trying to poach him as well. "Oh, do you want to have a game with so-and-so?" And he's like, "No, I'm playing for Macau. I'm a Macau guy." No, he was just really, really awesome guy. And we just couldn't believe it when he said, "Right, come on," because we were struggling, as always. And he said, "Right, come on, just give me the boots and I'll help out a bit." And it turned out he was our shortest, but probably best ever ruckman we've ever had. And then on the first year with the live streaming, so people in Australia are beginning to text me saying, "Well, actually, you're on the TV. You're on the TV." News. And obviously it got a bit of texting home. Everyone's looking in, and it must be the most viewed AFL Asia video out there, I reckon.
Just
amazing.
I just had a look on YouTube. It's had 10,000 views. The last Asian Champs the whole day. I think he had 7.8. So phenomenal.
And that's just one posting of that clip. Imagine how many, if you count all the news runs they've got. I still remember Andrew Embly's voice in the background because he's up at the announcers table. Don't know what he was doing. And he's gone, is that Libba? And it's clearly his voice. He's like, oh, no, he can't. Well, he obviously knows the ins and outs of an AFL player's contract. He's like, oh, no, he can't. Well, he just did. Now, Dave, did you know? You may or may not know. When Libba reached 100 games, I think it was the next season, maybe 2 seasons later,
the banner.
He had a big banner, and it said, "Congratulations, Libba, 100 great games and one awesome game for the Vietnam Swans." Now, I got a lot of messages that day. We were pretty chuffed to get the nod for Libba's one AFL Asia performance. How did you take it? I imagine it was a bit the opposite.
To be honest, we were a little bit disappointed. We try and get Macau in the news and as much as we can. This is our time to shine. Yeah. Well, it was in Vietnam, but Macau. But no, we don't mind at all. We don't mind at all. But it was our big chance to be on the big screen. But on the Fox Footy show, it was actually one of the questions who played for Macau Lightning in the 2016 Asian Champs on the Fox Footy. We did get a mention. They got it right for that side.
Yeah, okay. I remember that night seeing it, and I missed the start of the game, so I got there and I Googled it, and I was like, oh, wow, we've done pretty well on that one.
Dave, just before we get
I got emails through the Facebook.
Keep going, mate. Good. Just break out a little.
No, carry on. Sorry.
Just before.
Oh no, just after we're doing.
We've got a lag here, but Dave, you go ahead. We want to hear the emails and the messages.
Oh no, sorry. I'm just going to finish on that. Just in the afternoon, I had emails from the Herald and Sun, from Fox News, all wanting interviews and so on. But we were told strictly he didn't really play. He kicked it once and don't say anything. So what happens on tour stays on tour, right? Yeah.
Yep. Well done.
Yeah, it might be the same guys who were trying to interview me about Brian Lake as well, I think, because I've sounds it. Let's move on. Before we get to the tribal sport friendly fire round, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. You mentioned earlier about looking into the future of the Macau Lightning and getting things back on track somewhat post people going back home and moving away from Macau and sort of injecting a bit more youth and enthusiasm back into the place. What do you got planned on the table? What's happening post COVID-19 in your eyes?
I mean, as if 2020 couldn't get any worse, our major sponsor, the legendary Stephen Cowan, sadly passed away in February, who basically kept our club alive. Because we're not playing regular games, it's very hard to get sponsorship now. And his company, Paltronics, signed a 3-year deal. And so financially, we're in a bit of a pickle at the moment. But that won't kill us, that won't stop us. But it's harder to have funds to launch campaigns and to do some online marketing and so on to try and get people. But I think the odd kick is one that everyone's asking about, that they want to get going. And the more people who do the odd kick, the more dads that come down, the more people that see it's fun and just want a casual kick. And we're not going to smash you, or as a lot of people I think are a little bit worried, at that. So that's the main thing. And we just need to, basically, Macau's cut off from the world at the moment. You can come in and out of China with a special visa, but there's no foreigners allowed in. Actually, if I leave Macau, I can't come back in. So I've been here since February. So once the world opens up again and business picks up and more contracts are out there, and especially the construction guys are always really, really keen, from Leighton's and all the Aussie who are specialists in the this one. But our main thing, we want to do university. We want to get more people who are actually in Macau rather than just relying on expats all the time. It's our main focus. So there's a big new Macau university. So we want to do a bit of a promotion there and get some posters up and try and get going, get the odd kick going. And then just maintaining our Masters and Asian Champs. Because the time we miss one of them is when things will start to go down. And everyone's so keen and everyone wants to travel. So keeping the regular Champs and Masters just out, trying to get a bit of local influence coming in, and also try and get odd kick up and running as well. Is really what we want to do. We want to keep all this alive and going.
Just one last one from me. How have you seen AFL Asia and the region change in a positive sense since you've been involved?
It's unbelievable how much bigger it's got. The teams and all the people coming in, and like seeing the P&G Mercs come in at that a couple of years ago, and just like a whole different dimension of people coming. It's not just all your Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam expats sort of games. And the guys like in Jakarta, we did a tour over there, and we basically had half an orphanage playing with us because again we were a bit short on numbers, and just to see more than just a group of expats just go for a piss up on a Saturday, it's turned into an actual massive organisation, and I mean the logistics and everything behind it now with the guys must be really, really tough. There's so many things going on, so many emails going out, but really exciting.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to turn it over to Bill, and before we do, we'll welcome and thank Tribal Sport, AFL Asia's preferred apparel provider. So for you and your club, if you're looking at getting some new Guernsey shorts, polo shirts, any apparel that your club needs for the 2021 season, please contact David Lake at the crew at Tribal Sport, who are outstanding contributors and ambassadors for the game here in Asia. Bill, over to you for the Tribal Sport friendly fire round.
All right, Dave. So we haven't actually brought this up at any stage. Normally, we've already covered this in some of the upbringing or something. But what nicknames have you had, and maybe have at the moment? A Welshie.
I mean, I'm usually referred as the Prez or Welshie. Yeah, Welshie is the most common one. As I say, that was this year's strange Aussie humour on the first day of training, that the most obvious Scotsman out there and calling the guy from Wales and so on. Or the Prez is kind of stuck actually. So yeah, that's the
okay.
But Macau was very good at nicknames for a while. Everybody had a nickname. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So is Macau the only AFL club you've played for? Or have you played for any others?
No, simply Macau. And obviously it's all fun and games, but no, only Macau is my only club.
Yep. And so how many years have you now been playing footy in Asia?
So I joined 2011, so 9 years playing footy.
9 years. And what's your favourite position?
Goal square, perfect for me.
What number, if you can choose?
Oh, number 6, my lucky number, and I've had number 6.
Have you picked up an AFL team via the exposure to the sport?
Made a big mistake with this one, but Collingwood until I go for it.
I thought you were going to say Melbourne. This one, I gave you a little bit of heads up, so I hope you're sharp on it now. But who would be the best player, or you can name a couple that you've seen in your time with AFL Asia?
Well, compared to me, everyone's good. But I would say Troy Harris is probably the best player I played with and against. And definitely Troy Harris. But undoubtedly, yeah.
Yep. So who's been the best teammate that you've had since you got to the Lightning?
For rooming up with, probably Filthy Phil Stormont. He's a Pom and started at the same time as me. Information and as a good teammate, I would say Tomo and Coach Cation. I've learned the most one.
Yep. And who would be the most annoying?
Probably Filthy Phil again, actually. Yeah, he gets 2 votes.
Who's been the hardest opponent that you've come up against?
I think for us, Malaysia probably. They did a tour to Macau and smashed us, and even at all the Asian champs before the 3. Yeah, I would say definitely Digger and his guys over there at I would say are definitely probably our toughest opponent.
Yeah. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Probably Philippines, I would say. Beaches at Boracay and Bohol and so on. Yeah. So yeah, Philippines for sure. I think it's my go-to place.
Okay. What's the best footy trip you've been on?
I knew this was coming and I couldn't decide.
Yeah.
I would say our tour to Jakarta was probably they were without doubt the best hosts we've ever had. We had the biggest Friday before the game we've ever had. It was just the way the and the whole setup there was just absolutely 100%. It was brilliant. Yeah, I'd recommend any trip to Jakarta.
I must say, I've got the opposite on one of our footy tours to Jakarta. The Friday night was that well hosted that the Saturday was that horrible for me personally that I never want to go. I never want to go back. They hosted us too well. If you can invite any 4 people to a dinner, who would they be?
I had to think about it. So, Gordon Ramsay. I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan.
Oh, okay.
Should be okay if he's there. My Everton legend, Duncan Ferguson. He's my favourite player of all time. Yeah. He's a tough nut. I'd love to have a chat with him. His after dinner speeches are awesome.
Yep.
Jim Jeffries, the Aussie comedian.
Yeah.
The funniest man I've ever had. I actually got to meet him in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Festival, but he just cracks me up. And probably just Megan Fox, because I've heard she's got a good personality and an interesting chat. So.
Wow. And what would you serve up at that dinner? What's your favourite meal?
Doner kebab, if that would be acceptable. I don't think Gordon Ramsay would be too keen.
Yeah, I could just imagine his response.
Kebab and an iron brew, that would be perfect, and a couple of beers. I'd be a happy man.
Yeah. What would be 3 things that people may not know about you, even after this hour-long podcast?
Tough one. I guess we actually, some of the Lightning guys, we bought a race or shares in a racehorse in Macau and named it Macau Lightning. So we believe we're the first AFL Asia team that have a horse named after the club.
Yes, I think so.
Wow.
2, although I'm called Welshie, I've been to Wales for less than 24 hours in my entire life. So some people still believe I am Welsh with the name. So, 3rd, but looking at the face, you wouldn't believe my dad's side of the family were actually quite famous in the modelling world. My cousin has a big modelling agency. My uncle in movies.
Wow.
And my granddad was the face of Cathay Pacific in the 80s. He was on all over the magazines, with his bowler hat on, and so on. So what happened to me, I don't know, but I've obviously missed that nice gene. Yeah.
I could make a snide comment there, but I'll jump straight along. What do you like most about playing footy in Asia?
The beers after.
And,
no, more than that. just to meet, I've met so many amazing people and lifelong friends. Just the whole, the touring to Thailand, to all the champs, the masters. It's an experience that not many people get to have. And I guess luckily being the one who does all the organising and emails, I know I've made friends with people that I would never, ever have normally either had contact with in Macau or got to go. And the whole social side I love. But we'll get that Division 3 award at one point as well. We're definitely on track.
Aside from a Macau Lightning Div 3 premiership, what does the future, in your opinion, hold for AFL Asia across the continent?
I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. The exposure and again, this is a terrible year, but before all this happened, just seeing all the new teams that want to be involved, people setting things up. I just can't see it stop going. If you know what I mean, it's still, I'd say, at the small to medium with the potential of where it could actually be. And with the Shanghai game, and when that all gets up and running again, hopefully, and the only way is up, as far as I can see it. Yeah.
That'll do us for Tribal Talks. Thanks a lot for that, Dave. Back to you, Matty.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Some interesting information that we heard, particularly the Macau Lightning horse. I'm very interested. Has the Macau Lightning horse had any maiden victories, or is it still in the top paddock?
Well, he's currently at the training school in the Sky. But when he was still with us, he won 3 in a row. He's won 5 or 6 races. He actually won and we won games. That's what we like to. That's what we like them. That was a great
Macau Lightning ever. Did you consider getting Macau? Did you consider getting Macau Lightning too?
Just dropped out there, I think.
I've lost you. I've lost you there. Sorry.
Yeah. Are we back?
Yep, we're back.
I think we're back. Yeah.
Phil would like to know. He's very upset. How was he given the most annoying? we haven't had a person.
If you've ever met Phil, then you would understand. And I'm sure that most of the people on the team will Phil as well. So I'll just leave it at that. He's actually my best mate, so I can say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there any more comments there from the gallery, Bill?
There's been plenty. They're very, very positive. So Neville's just said one of the greats. I think we had a suggestion. I don't know what question it was for, but Venka through the tribal talks. Do you know who that would have been? Glenn James has suggested Venka as one of the categories.
Venka was our first Malaysian player.
Okay. So maybe he was suggesting
Venka.
best ever.
I missed that. Though.
Desert from the Philippines has said, what a legend. Grant, before he mentioned the boat race, said, go Prez. And one more, Bobby Pike, who is up in Nha Trang in Vietnam, does a bit of training for the Swans when he's in town. His son Josh plays for the Swans. So he was just loving the podcast. So all very positive. Not too much controversy today, Matty, in the comment section.
No, the Scots are very honest, mate. They're some of the best people in the world. So on that note, Dave, you've been an outstanding person to have on board today for our podcast. We look forward to catching up with you at our next edition of our Asian Championships. And if you need any help anywhere along the line with any of the development stuff at the Macau Lightning, please touch base with myself and Simon Highfield, our Asia Development Manager, because we obviously want to see Macau return to its former glory as far as local development and getting that Oz kick and players at ground level once the coronavirus situation has lifted and passed and there's people allowed to actually get into Macau and not having to get the can't come back next week sort of scenario. So we look forward to better times ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys. It's been very fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah, looking forward to sharing an iron brew with you one day. I like the old iron brew. I bought one over here in Japan not long ago at one of our international stores. So I used to have it a lot with my godparents back in South Australia. But excellent brew. But we look forward to a different variety of an orange amber fluid next time we catch up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you again. It's been awesome.
Yeah, this is Matty Gale, Billy Bang Bang Krang, and Dave Smith on How Good's Footy in Asia Podcast, episode 15. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch up with you again soon. Bye for now.